Osu Rewind 2023 was amazing, but people seem to hate it. At the time of writing this, it's been 1 week since it was released to the public. BTMC, the largest Osu streamer, was the director and main person who funded this whole project. But the team of 5 editors was also controlled by Sync, someone who made an Osu Rewind for 2022. With a group of talented editors, what could go wrong? Well, it seems like there was a lot of debate amongst the Osu community. Let's take a look at people's issues and what people liked in this rewind. Let's start with what I liked. The transitions were very clean between plays, and I actually found that this video flowed well and had good pacing. I was talking to Nyrix about the transition from the Vaxay bit where they are saying 07 because he's inactive, and they type out time flies, and then it goes back, and then they type out time files. And if you don't know, there is a time files map on Osu, so it transitions over to worst hard rock player's score. That was one of the transitions of all time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people noticed and thought it was very cool. The editing. Contrary to everyone saying that the ADHD intensive super fast-paced editing was bad, I actually liked it, and it's not because I'm a zoomer. When I watched it initially, I was pretty overwhelmed, but as I was studying it and really trying to pay attention, I genuinely believed that it was different and a breath of fresh air. It's not every day that you see an Osu edit with such caliber of planning and editing. Also, I want to point out, Osu is such a simple game. I mean, what can you really do with a simple circle clicking game? Instead of 3D looking previews, you know, the one where it escapes from the frame and it's flashing? I'm sure it will be on screen right now. The attempted humor and references were funny and cool. Not that one though. I have no clue what BTMC could be referencing right now.
Where did my clothes go? Guys, this isn't funny. Where are my clothes? Carryu? Carryu? Stepson! Help me! This isn't funny! Dude! I'm stuck in the dryer!
Nah, but I had a little chuckle. The ad was chill, however some people thought it broke the immersion. Other small references and memes also made in the video made it more comfy, I guess. It brought the feeling of an actual rewind instead of just flashy cool effects. Most of these editors are pretty chill, especially my goat Patch. He is actually the one who included me in the rewind, so I want to say thank you, bro. I was surprised I made it into the cut even after what had happened. I'm very grateful, even if it was just my voice. All of a sudden, Freddie Benson quit play and went inactive. It looked like everything was over, and the reign of Freddie Benson was to be forgotten. Now that the glazing is out of the way, let's take a look at some of the community's issues and concerns, not mine. Firstly, people's issues with the release date. BTMC hyped this up for so long, and it was released almost 5 months into 2024 because of delays. What delays, you may be asking? Well, we're unsure, but it must have been something serious if BTMC was willing to scrap the whole project instead of releasing it at its current state.
We found some very unfortunate issues that came up. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do for 2023, but we may be able to fix it for 2024. So not only have we been fixing some of the stuff for the current Osu Rewind, but we're also laying out the groundwork to have a better 2024 rewind.
Over editing. The community had a field day criticizing and pointing out the editing in this rewind. People felt as if there was too much going on. Like at times, instead of focusing on plays, it would be floating off into 3D space. I guess it took the appeal away from certain people. Not only the visuals, but people found the sounds intense, like all the booms, bass, and hardcore music. I guess it was a bit too much sensory overload for the general populace. But like I mentioned before, I actually love this style. Mainly because of the fact that it's something that isn't really happening every day. I would understand if the Osu space was super oversaturated with this editing style, but the truth is Osu content is pretty simple, so that change in editing styles was nice to see. But this wasn't the only issue that the community had. This is something only a few people would take away, and that's the fact that it didn't feel like a rewind to them. By this, people mean that they felt like it was more showcasing the editor's skill instead of admiring the plays or the players. To put it in simple terms, if we're comparing it to older rewinds like the 2017 Osu Rewind, there is a stark difference in conceptual basis. This was more about the plays, and while it did have goofy editing and funny things, it was mainly guided towards the best plays of that year, which is hard to strike a perfect balance through, because when Kensox made a 2022 Osu Rewind, it was strictly score focused, and people felt that the lack of editing or attempt at made it less entertaining. So it's really hard to understand what the community truly wants. But people feel like with 27 minutes worth of runtime that there would be more of a focus on the scores instead of editing, which leads us to our next point. The amount of scores and players that were not included. This was the biggest piece of criticism from the community. Let's start with the players. It was no secret that there were specific people hogging most of the runtime. I mean, that's why this meme was made. But not including these players definitely made the rewind a little less better. Nineric, Enri, Nahos, a little bit more lifeline would have been better. The reason I clumped these guys together is because with tournament performances from every individual and crazy scores, they weren't really showcased, and for top 10 and top 20 players not to be shown, that's nuts to see. It was just missing a lot of scores and a lot of top players. Some people like to say Clouterful was nowhere to be found, but I'd argue the majority of his pop-off was from this year, so he'll most likely, well, certainly be in the 2024 rewind. This one person, Missing Note, put a list of scores that the team missed, and BTMC saw it and replied asking if they wanted to be on the team for the next rewind. Him recruiting help is a good thing to see, as it will ensure the next OSU Rewind will have more guidance and have a focus on unnoticed scores and players. Then we have too much screen time for particular players. Shigetora was way too involved in the community's eyes. People going out of their way to say he didn't even get a 1k PP play, and his other scores were being glazed way too much. I would say in my opinion that his Jashin score deserved to be there, as if he didn't fail, it would have been the craziest hidden hard rock score of all time. But with too much screen time and the disinclusion of other notable players in place of his quote-unquote 2-star FCs, he was glazed way too much. The Vaxei comeback bit was a bit too long for someone whose significance was basically coming back to win OWC with the US and dipping. It was just too much glaze for Vaxei, where in comparison to Malashevsky, the arguably better tournament player shown by the big show match between Vaxei and him, and just other tournaments, he easily gaps Vaxei, but it was only shown briefly with this race clip. As for Emmerich and Akolibid, it makes sense that these two got screen time. Their rivalry made 2023 interesting. Seeing Akolibid come back from his break to gap Lifeline and finally some competition for the #1 spot, only for Emmerich to further the gap and solidify dominance as the best player in the game. That was intense, and I believe that those two definitely got the right amount of screen time based on last year's rivalry alone. The community section. Now, this is just my opinion, but I actually like this one way more than whatever this parasocial one was trying to say. Because in this one, while it does incorporate top player times and streamer moments, it also includes meetups from all around the globe. You know, something that the average player can relate to. I mean, it's not like every day you can go link up with your favorite top player. I mean, maybe you can, but it's most likely you'll link up around the community around you, and that's special. So I like the message behind this one drastically more. If you're one of the people who is in charge of the next OSU Rewind, or if any of the editors are watching, definitely listen to the people who are giving good criticism or are trying to help. But don't listen to those people on Reddit or Twitter that are just complaining without any reason. I don't know if it would be a mentality change seeing this sort of criticism, but anything that's like dog shit, I wouldn't really care about. What I'm trying to say is take these new suggestions on board with you when you're going to produce the next OSU Rewind, which is supposedly going to be started soon. Okay, that's enough yapping. I tried my best to formulate these takes so that it's constructive instead of just shit talking. Okay, take care, bye bye.